Let's see what we're gonna be reacting to here. TikTok, I'm gonna end the stream and then I'm gonna bring it right back up. Give me a few seconds. Twitch, you stay right there where you are, you pretty son of a gun. Okay, so let's do. What if I do this? I've been having the hardest time and y'all ain't really sending me anything, so let's do scary stories. 3 true scary stories. 2 months ago, Mr. Nightmare. Let's see what's up with this. Isha.
My girlfriend and I recently moved into our new house. It's honestly the home we've been dreaming of, the perfect fit for us. We have a cat named Bella whom we rescued together, so everything felt perfect when we first moved in. The only downside at first was the house to our right. It looked abandoned, as the owner had started renovating it but never finished. The layout of the house is such that on our right there's a space for the
Hold on. We gotta end TikTok, bam. Bring TikTok back. We gotta refresh it. Y'all know how it is, man. I've been explaining this to you guys for a while. If you don't refresh TikTok, it doesn't refresh you for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Entrance to our back garden, and next to that is the abandoned house's entrance to its back garden. There's no fence separating the two, as the owner removed it to install a new one but never completed the job.
Yeah, I don't like
leaving
that.
Both back gardens with open access. Behind the abandoned house is another property separated by a fence. From what we could see, several young men lived there. Occasionally, when we returned home, we'd see them cutting through the neighbor's back garden to reach the front of the street.
Pretty normal.
We didn't think much of it at first. Maybe they knew the owner and had permission. Fast forward to our first night in the new house. We were sitting in the back garden, enjoying the space, and looked up at the houses behind us, just out of curiosity. That's when we noticed a man staring blankly at us from a window. He wasn't hiding it, he made it very obvious. There was no expression on his face, and the room was dark, which made the whole thing even more unsettling. We assumed he was just curious about his new neighbors, but after half an hour of that blank stare, we decided to go inside. The next few days were normal. I went to work, and my fiancée continued unpacking. One night, we decided
Isn't that a symptom of, like, sundowning or something? Like Alzheimer's or something? Just to, like, stare out the windows or something? I could be wrong, I'm not sure. Let me Google it. Let's see what sundowning is. Sundowning. It says it's basically they start to act crazy later on in the day or confused. Yeah, staring in the window is a behavior. Okay, so it could be sundowning. Let's not jump to conclusions.
It was dark, but we enjoyed looking at the stars and having deep conversations, until we heard the makeshift wooden board fence being moved. 3 men appeared, standing there, staring at us.
They appeared, or they were there?
I asked, knowing they wouldn't leave unless I said something. The youngest looking one, around 29, was holding a big bag, and we had no idea what was inside. He offered us some stolen washing up tablets, which we declined. I made a joke about it because the situation felt so awkward. He smiled and said okay, and then they left.
Okay.
What struck me was how they just let themselves into our garden without saying anything, like as if they had every right to be there. We went back inside.
They were probably going to steal from you.
But it all started getting worse from there.
Hey, thanks for the follow, Tegan. I appreciate you. We're almost at 800. Make sure you guys smash that follow button. Let's get up to 800.
Began helping themselves into our garden more often and acting in ways that were clearly meant to intimidate us. They would get into the next door house by lifting up the fence that separated the back gardens and walking through. I forgot to mention, my girlfriend and I are both 20 years old, so of course the idea that they might be trying to intimidate us as two young women was the first thing that crossed our minds.
I would say they were
One
probably
day,
trying
while
to
I
steal
was cleaning
from
the
you.
front room, two police officers came around the side.
Can you call my friend? For what? I don't know that you should be putting phone numbers in here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Just do it. That's kind of crazy. That could be a scam. I don't know nothing. What area code even is that? 863 area code. Central Florida. Why do you want me to call your friend? Just tell me why and I'll probably do it. Is it like a prank call? Is that what we're doing? What do you want me to say? I don't know. Just hey, you're wilding out, bro. I can't do that, man. I can't do that. I don't know that could be a
To their
scam or
house and
anything,
entered the
man.
abandoned garden. They lifted up the fence and looked around.
If I had a burner number or something, I would do it. I could do like a prank call stream. I could do a prank call stream. I'll set up a fake number and then call people, but I can't just give out my main number. You know what I'm saying?
Minutes before leaving without saying anything. I thought it was strange, but continued with my day, assuming maybe the people next door were trouble. A few days later, the
Yeah,
police knocked
message
on
me.
our
All
door.
right, I'll let you know.
They explained that the house behind us was now vacant. The men had been kicked out for antisocial behavior, apparently not just towards us, but with other neighbors too. Honestly, we were relieved. Even though they hadn't physically done anything yet, it meant they wouldn't get the chance to escalate things. We continued settling into the house, but one day,
What's up, Nick?
while I was in the bath, I heard a loud bang outside. I quickly got dressed and ran to find my girlfriend.
Somebody get shot?
I found her recording something from our spare bedroom window, which faces the garden of the now empty house. I asked what was going on, but she shushed me. After a moment, she explained. A man we had never seen before pointed up at our bedroom window, and when
What's going on? Reacting to some scary stories, I guess. This is a story about two women who live in a house that has an abandoned house and some creepy men around it. So, hopefully you enjoy those types of stories.
she noticed him, he sprinted full speed toward our house. He tried our door handle on the way past, then ran back into the garden, threw the broken fence up, and started banging on all the windows of the empty house. We called the police immediately. They came, watched the video, took a statement, and left. We were shaken.
You better
Why
have
would
a
they try our
weapon
door
ready.
handle and then break into that house? What was he planning?
He was gonna
A few
kidnap
nights
you
later,
and
while we were in bed,
whatever
we
else
heard
comes with
whistling.
that.
The kind of whistle men use to harass women. It was 2:16 a.m. We listened quietly, and then heard someone tapping on our window.
I would
Terrified,
move
we checked the
immediately.
cameras, but for some reason, they didn't record anything. Whoever it was must have left shortly after because the noises stopped. We were too scared to sleep, so the next day, we
Yeah.
went to my mom's and stayed the night.
There you go.
When we returned the following morning, we noticed our Ring doorbell had been removed and placed on the floor. The
Time to go
SD
back to
card was
mom's
gone.
again.
Someone had clearly come back, and we knew who it was. Who else would do that?
Well, I mean, I don't have Ring. I have a different type of camera. But like, if your Ring doorbell streams, you don't need the SD card, right? You could just watch back the footage online, right? Am I tripping? I don't know. I personally don't know how Ring works, but can you not just watch the footage back? Anyone in here got a Ring doorbell? Nobody got Ring doorbell?
We called the police again, and they told us to keep all the doors and windows locked. The woman on the phone even said that the removal of the camera
Sure,
could
I
be
would
a sign
assume
that
you
they
could.
were
That's
planning
the same.
something, which terrified us even more. But at least she was honest.
You needed to grab your stuff and get out of there.
Whistling, banging, and attempts to re-enter the house continued for weeks. We made multiple police reports. They never tried our door again, so we hoped it was over. But 3 weeks later, while in bed watching funny clips from our camera, we checked the live feed. That's when we saw a man outside, wearing a black mask covering his mouth and nose, with his hood up, standing in front of our garden with his arms spread wide, like he was imitating Jesus on the cross. He stared up at our bedroom window with his head tilted. We froze. At the time, we had moved the camera inside the house, so it didn't record. We were so shaken we didn't even think to screen record. He then spoke, but we couldn't hear what he said. Then he turned around, walked to the opposite side of the street, and just stood there, staring at our house for about 30 minutes. We called the police again. They said it wasn't illegal to stare at someone's property and dismissed the whole thing.
It's not illegal to stare at someone's property, but if you're outside in the middle of the night staring at someone, that could be perceived as disturbing the peace, aggravated, menacing. What are we? Yeah, nah. I would lie. I don't care. I'd lie at that point. I'm like, he might have a gun. It looked like he was reaching in his pocket or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he was trying to point a gun at somebody down the street, like something. If I gotta lie to get the cops there, I gotta lie. It is what it is.
Even when we told them what he did on our lawn, they made us feel like we were overreacting. We couldn't sleep for days. Any noise outside terrified us, even normal ones. Then, one night at 2:52 a.m., we got a notification. I woke my girlfriend and said, "Someone's outside, I know it. Please check the camera."
You ain't got it on your phone?
And there they were. Two masked men coming from the side of our house, shining flashlights into our windows. One of them, the same man who had been harassing us, was holding what looked like a crowbar. Why us? What was the point of this?
Because you're women and
For
cops
days on
haven't
end,
shown
he
up.
would stand across the street, pointing, waving, or shouting things up at our window. Every time we looked,
Respectfully, if this is the footage, bro is clearly walking his dog and y'all are tripping. I'm not saying dude couldn't be weird, but this footage, hey, don't get me wrong, it is still a little weird, but it looks like he's just walking his dog chilling over there. Like, not the best footage. Now, the other stuff, like them breaking in, yeah, but like this ain't really. He looks like he's about to wave, "Hi, how you doing?" You know what I mean? Like that. This doesn't seem bad.
he would stare blankly at us. It was clearly meant to scare us, and it worked. We kept contacting the police, but they've done very little. The harassment continues.
Okay, this is
We've
getting
got
a little
cameras
creepy.
now, and we record everything, but we feel powerless. Just earlier today, he stood outside again, staring up at us. We got it on video, and we're absolutely terrified, but we'll update if anything else happens.
Seems like mental health problems. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with the people trying to break in. That's
Let me
creepy
preface
though,
this by saying
nonetheless.
I'm not crazy.
I understand their
I know how
paranoia.
this is going to sound. Paranoid, unhinged, delusional, but I swear, everything I'm about to tell you actually happened.
Says everyone that's
Started with a
delusional.
face, or more accurately, faces that all looked just slightly off. 3 months ago, I ended a relationship with my ex, Caleb. We'd been together almost 2 years, and the breakup was long overdue. Caleb wasn't violent or anything, he never hit me, but he was controlling and possessive in that low-key and calculating kind of way.
I don't feel like we live in a pretty weird time. I'm a ramble for a second. It's weird that we live in a time where people feel like they have to clarify that their spouse doesn't beat on them. Like, how can I explain this? Mental health is something everyone struggles with. So, like, saying your boyfriend or your girlfriend is controlling, it happens, right? I don't feel like that's unheard of. That's pretty normal, actually, sadly. But, like, the fact that it's so normal that people are in abusive relationships, that this person felt like before they even said their boyfriend was controlling, that they established that they didn't get beat on. Like, he was never physical or anything, but and then went on to say he's controlling, and it's like, good lord, man, why does that even, like, that shouldn't have to be brought up unless he was abusive. Like, if he was physically abusive is the only time you should have to say that. But I get it. It's just crazy to think we live in a society like that where it's like, yeah, it's on everyone's mind, I guess. When you say someone was controlling, they're like, well, was he beating on you? It's like, good God, why is that so common?
Perhaps the worst kind of way. He'd do things like track when I'm on my phone and quiz me on things I'd done that day to see if I'd give the same answer twice.
That's
After I
crazy.
left him,
Yeah, that's crazy. Please, women and men, watch the red flags, man. There's so many people in the world, and I'm gonna tell you this. I'll be honest with you. I'll be the first one to tell you. A lot of people suck. A lot. And even the people who don't suck sometimes. You gotta find you a person that sucks sometimes. If you know what I'm saying. No, I'm just playing. But you gotta find you a person that sucks sometimes, but not all the times, and is willing to work on themselves and try to improve in a way that doesn't necessarily, like, it's not something you hate. You know what I'm saying? If they suck and it's something you hate and it's completely unacceptable to you, like, some people might be perfect people, but every now and then they hit their wife. If the wife is like everything else is picture perfect, that's up to her. I don't think it okays it, but maybe that wasn't the greatest example. But my point being, maybe you have a spouse that likes to fornicate with other people from time to time, right? Okay, do you allow that? Do you like that? Maybe they cheat on you. You don't perceive that as big of a deal because they do everything else perfectly. You guys are best friends. It's just every now and then they do this stupid thing. That's up to you. And again, not every relationship has those kinds of intricate problems. Maybe this person gets moody and argumentative every now and then, or this person gets lazy, doesn't help around the house. It doesn't have to be huge, horrible things. I'm just saying, yeah, I don't know. Y'all suck, man. Y'all suck. There's so many just horrible people in the world, but there are good people. Don't stay with bad people, man. And here's the thing, even if that person, you just dislike them so much, but it's like you're trying to make it work, you can make things work. But the issue is, you have to. Is the juice worth the squeeze? If you hate so much about them, what do you gain out of staying with them? You know what I mean? I'm in no way, shape. I root for love. I advocate for positivity. I think it's a beautiful thing when you have a real relationship and you can really be honest with each other and grow together. But there's so many bad relationships that are just not even worth the beginning, let alone the years people put in. Don't put yourself in that predicament. Cut it off immediately. Soon as you see the red flag. Now, again, maybe they have poop stains or something. Is that something that's a deal breaker for you? If it is, leave. If not, hey, maybe we can work on our hygiene. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it is what it is. I feel like these should be normal human concepts, but let's get back into this, I guess.
I changed my number, disabled my social media.
It just blew my
even
mind
moved
that she said that
apartments.
like that.
I
Here,
thought
I'm
I
gonna
was
take
in
it back.
clear.
I'm gonna let y'all see why it bothered me.
Controlling and possessive, and that low key and the face, or more accurately, faces that all looked just slightly off. 3 months ago, I ended a relationship with my ex Caleb.
3 months ago, I ended a relationship with my ex, Caleb. Normal.
We'd been together almost 2 years, and the breakup was long overdue.
Normal stuff.
Caleb wasn't violent or anything. He never hit me.
Where did that come from?
But he was controlling and possessive in that low-key and calculating kind of way. Perhaps the worst kind of way.
In a low-key and calculating kind of way. Like, he would message me and ask me things multiple times a day. That's not low-key. If that's low-key, you're ignoring all the signs. That's not low-key, that's blatant. You are communicating with this person and they are manipulating you. Done deal. It's that simple,
things like
ladies.
track when I'm on my phone and quiz me on things.
Stop letting these dudes treat y'all like
this. Same answer twice. After I left him, I changed my number, disabled my social media, and even moved apartments. I thought I was in the clear. Then came the barista. It was a Tuesday morning.
What?
I stopped by this little hole-in-the-wall coffee shop near my new place. I'd only been there once or twice. As I stepped up to the counter, the barista, a girl about my age, smiled at me, but something about her expression made me pause. She tilted her head and said, "Good morning, sunshine." I froze because that was Caleb's nickname for me. It was not a common one. He used to say it sarcastically whenever I was upset, like, "What's wrong, sunshine?" He enjoyed pushing buttons. I brushed it off. Maybe it was a coincidence. But then it happened again. A few days later, I took a ride share to work. A different driver than usual, older guy, maybe in his 50s. He kept glancing in the rearview mirror like he was trying to recognize me, and then he asked me if I ever figured out what I was running from. He said it as casual as could be. I simply responded, "What?" And he just chuckled and shook his head like I was in on some joke. Caleb said that to me once.
Oh my god. I wouldn't say it's a common saying, but it's not unusual. You ever find what you're running from? Like, you think your boyfriend is...
After I told him I needed time to figure myself out.
Your boyfriend literally mentally abused you to the extent that you are now seeing him in everything. Somebody called you sunshine, and now all of a sudden it's some interconnected conspiracy. That's crazy, dude. Oh my god.
He leaned in, dead serious, and asked, "Ever figure out what you're running from?" Now, two strangers have repeated things he said, word for word. It kept happening. A woman at the grocery store bumped into me and whispered.
It's not like he said, like, "Hey, dearie, you running from something weary? Oh boy, that's scary." Like, this is a normal saying. That's like if, "Hey, bud, my boyfriend said, 'Hey, bud,' to me once." Like, what are you talking about? I don't mean to be disrespectful. Like, whatever you're going through seems terrible, but...
"You don't get to just disappear." A guy on the street said, "Still wearing your hair like that," as he passed. Another one,
now that's
someone
just
who worked
creepy.
in my building, said, "You always liked this song," while humming the exact tune Caleb used to play when we argued.
So only Wait, hold on. There was two things there. One hit me like, it was like I had an idea, and then all of a sudden, like, I got smacked in the back of the head with the other one. Number one, your boyfriend ain't the only one who listened to a song. That's stupid. Number two, what do you mean a song? That's exactly what I was gonna say. An argument song? What in the world? I don't get it. Look, I'm 30 years old. I've been with my girlfriend for 15 years. I don't in any way, shape, or form want to come across braggadocious. We've had our problems. But, you know, we're high school sweethearts. We haven't, nothing too crazy or anything like that. But I would say we've had a pretty solid relationship. We've continued to make each other happy, so on and so forth. If you have a song, if this dude's like, "Hold on, we're arguing? You want to argue with me? Hold on, let me turn this real quick." Like, leave. Leave. What are you... I've never even heard of that. I don't know if anyone else in the world has ever heard of that. That is crazy. And she just said it casually. He would play that song when we were arguing. What? Stop normalizing the weird stuff your people are doing to you. That's not normal. That's concerning.
It wasn't their faces that freaked me out, it was the way they looked at me, like they knew me, or at least thought they did. They all had different faces, but their eyes all had the same expressions. I started thinking I was going crazy.
That's called
I mean, what else could
perception,
explain
and
it?
you are
So I
going
did
crazy.
something I wasn't proud of. I contacted Caleb. Not directly. I sent a message to his sister. I told her to tell him to stop. I figured maybe he hired a private investigator. Maybe he was stalking.
He hired the master of disguise. And he's just going around town terrorizing you. Bro, you have to get to therapy ASAP. You need to see a psychiatrist. Yeah, you might be cooked. I know you don't want to think it's delusion, but it's delusion.
me or pulling strings, telling people things about me. I just wanted it to
It just
stop.
doesn't make sense.
She texted back the next day, saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Caleb's in rehab. He's been there for 6 weeks with no phone. I didn't believe her. I thought she was covering for him. That is, until I saw a picture she posted of him on Facebook a week later, looking pale and sunken in, holding one of those one-day sober chips. So it couldn't be Caleb, or at least not directly. I couldn't shake the feeling that
What
these
does that
strangers
mean?
knew things they shouldn't, though.
None of them said anything that says they know anything. What are you talking about?
One night, I stayed late at work. I didn't want to go home because my apartment didn't feel safe anymore.
And let me guess, the janitor came by and said, "Hey, you done with that cup?" And you were like, "Caleb once asked me that when we were arguing." Like, bro, what are we
Not
doing?
that anything bad happened inside of it. I just didn't like being alone. Around 10
That's
p.m.,
called being
I
paranoid.
finally called it a night. I walked the 10 minutes to my place, keeping my head down, headphones in, but no music playing.
Okay.
Something I learned to do so I could still hear if someone was following me. When I turned the corner onto my block, I saw someone sitting on the stoop of the building across from mine. A young man with his hoodie up, but his
Very
head
normal.
down. I almost ignored him until he spoke. He said, "Cold out tonight, huh, sunshine?" I stopped walking. He didn't look at me. He just stared at the sidewalk like he was reading something on it. I slowly walked past and didn't say a word. When I reached my building, I went upstairs and locked.
I'm not gonna lie. It sounds like this person is having like manic psychosis, literally. I don't think, unless this is a common thing in their town or something, I don't think that people are saying sunshine to you constantly. It sounds like you were already paranoid. You have a routine. You have to pretend you're listening to music so you can hear people. You're nervous. You're scared. You don't want to be alone. You stayed at work late. You're getting home. There's a guy out front. You're uncomfortable, and now you already heard something. I don't know how psychosis. Brain, come back on, please. Okay, I don't know how psychosis works. I've never experienced it. But one would assume it works like every other mental disorder where you have triggers. Triggers being that you're uncomfortable. You're walking past a dude who's sitting in front of your apartment, probably made you uncomfortable. You probably got paranoid. You probably had a, you know. This is very unlikely. I'm gonna need to see like some pictures of someone saying that, or like a video. Someone comes up like, "Hey, sunshine," and like creepily stares and smiles or something before I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is weird."
every bolt on the door. I sat on the couch for hours, just listening to nothing.
Having a panic attack.
Eventually, I fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up to find my doormat flipped over. That might not sound like a big deal, but I live alone, and the door to my unit is on the top floor. You don't just accidentally walk by my place. The underside of my mat had something scribbled in pen. It said, "You can change your face too if you want, but I'll still recognize you." I didn't know what it meant, but
Did you happen to snap a photo of that? And even then, you could have wrote it yourself, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But
I still threw up. That day, I booked a hotel for the weekend. I left my apartment without packing anything. I didn't feel safe even grabbing clothes. I just needed to be somewhere crowded. The hotel clerk...
so let me ask you this: you move to the hotel, right? Now someone's suddenly gonna be able to recognize you at the hotel. You're not that important. You're not that, unless you're a celebrity, you're not that important. No one cares about you.
Me a room on the 4th floor. It was small, quiet, and kind of stuffy, but it felt safe. But only until around 2 a.m., when someone knocked on my door. There were 3 slow knocks.
And then they said,
I sat
sunshine,
up in
open the
bed
door.
and waited. They knocked again eventually. I peeked through the peephole, and it was a woman, maybe in her 40s. Her face was totally blank and expressionless. She was just staring straight at the door. She didn't say anything, so I didn't make a sound, and eventually she left. It was one of the most disturbing things I'd ever seen. The next morning, I asked the front desk if someone had come by to my room. They said no one should have been up there, especially that late. All the rooms on my floor were vacant. That's when it clicked.
How odd. Oh, I live on the top floor. Nobody can come there. Oh, every room on my floor was vacant. Like, bruh. At this point, you're just making stuff up. That or you're in true form psychosis.
These weren't random people. They were being sent and fed my details. They were given phrases Caleb used. But if it weren't Caleb, who would do it? And why? I thought about Caleb in rehab, about his obsession with control and making sure I was never fully gone. He didn't need to be the one knocking, he just needed to send others to do it. So I started digging, and there was one conversation I remembered from months before the breakup. Caleb talking about a forum he was on, a place where people shared tactics. He made it sound like it was for productivity or self-improvement. I don't remember the name.
Shared tactics.
Honestly, I don't think he ever gave me the name. But in retrospect, it sounded like some creepy, cultish roleplay crap, except it's happening to me for real. Someone, probably Caleb, had hired people to say his words and mimic his patterns, so that even if he was out of my life technically, I'd still be constantly reminded of him. It wasn't stalking in the traditional sense. It was psychological graffiti. Like he was spraying himself onto strangers so I could never be sure who I was looking at. I don't think it's about watching me, but rather about...
And here's the problem with that logic. Let's assume you're right. Why would each one of them have the exact same look in their eyes? You've already destroyed your own logic. I could say, hey, sunshine. That doesn't mean I'm going to look like Caleb. It seems like you're experiencing a psychosis or a mental break episode.
Making sure I never stopped watching for him. I moved again and disappeared off social media again. I even dyed my hair. I told friends not to tell anyone where I was. It worked until last week. I was walking home from the bookstore and a woman passed me on the street and said, "Still hiding behind books, sunshine?" She didn't stop walking even just to look at me. My family is a group of homebodies that don't travel, so everyone was surprised when my aunt proposed a trip to one of Michigan's Great Lakes. We agreed, wanting to create new memories together. My cousin booked a spacious Airbnb that could somehow accommodate all 18 of us, which felt like a miracle considering the price.
That's crazy.
The house sat right on the beach, with gorgeous lake views that stretched for miles, almost like an ocean. Most of us claimed rooms in the main house, but because of our large group, some of us were placed in a second building directly behind it, a 2-story garage with bedrooms upstairs. My 3 cousins and I were assigned to sleep there. At first, we didn't think much of it. We spent most of the first day enjoying the hot tub, relaxing on the...
Oh, and in case anybody didn't catch it, I skipped the end of that last one. That was just getting stupid. I'll start rambling and just getting frustrated if I start feeling like the story is just either fake or stupid.
The beach and soaking in the scenery.
My bad, y'all. I couldn't do
the
it.
Garage for real. The space was outdated and neglected, with carpeted bathrooms that smelled like mold, stained bed linens, and a poorly secured latch on the door.
Yeah, y'all got a
Clearly,
house
the
for
cleaners
18
focused on
people.
the main home and ignored the garage. My cousins were grossed out and refused to sleep on the beds unless we washed the sheets, so I suggested we do laundry.
You think washing the sheets is going to clean the mold out of them? Okay.
The machines were small, so we could only do one set of bed sheets at a time, and it was obvious we'd be up late. We passed time upstairs, waiting for the first load. My cousin Maria complained about how we got stuck with the worst place, and as she spoke, I started to feel uneasy, like something bad was coming. I've had this feeling before, a rare kind of intuition that usually ends in a nightmare or something worse. I told my cousins to stay
Paranoia,
alert, and
anxiety.
they listened, especially since we'd all experienced a break-in before when we lived in Detroit. Around midnight, the bell rang from the first floor, signaling the wash was done. I went downstairs alone, swapped the load into the dryer, and brought up the clean-smelling sheets. When my cousins saw how clean they were, they wanted their bedding washed too, so I kept going up and down between cycles doing everyone's sheets.
Why are
Around
you the
2:37
designated
we were finally
washer?
done. We made the beds and were too tired to stay up any longer. My cousin Nikki insisted we leave the light on, and while they all fell asleep quickly, I stayed up doing some schoolwork on my phone. I'm a light sleeper, something that stuck with me since the break-in, and I remained hyper-aware of my surroundings even while half asleep. Then, around 3 a.m., a loud bang hit the garage door, like someone had thrown their body against it. I sat up, startled, but my cousins didn't move. I tried telling myself it was just wind, though the noise was too heavy for that.
No, it could be.
Still, I stayed quiet and tried to sleep.
Garage
It
doors
happened
can,
again.
like,
Same
slide
deafening
and
crash,
move and
this
stuff.
time shaking the garage door. The building trembled from the impact. I was fully awake now, watching the lamp-lit room as my cousins continued to sleep. No animal or gust of wind could cause that. 20 minutes later, the third boom hit. The garage shook again, and finally, two of my cousins
So you think someone's outside trying to break in by slamming into the garage every 20 minutes? What are we doing here? Oh man, they might have heard that one. Let me give it a, let it cool off a little bit. Like, bro, what?
bolted upright. I asked if they heard that, already knowing the answer.
Good
Nikki asked what
Lord,
that
man.
was, and I said, I don't know, but this is the third time I'm hearing it. We all agreed no wind could cause that sound. Nikki suggested texting her mom, my aunt, so we did.
There's 18
It was
people.
4:11 a.m.
Go
when she
look!
responded, realizing something serious must be going on. She woke my uncle, who ran outside to check the property.
If we are debating whether or not 100 people can fight a gorilla, do we not think 18 could probably take on one intruder? Y'all don't have any windows that look that way or nothing? Man.
We stayed upstairs, too afraid to move, until we heard knocking. It was my uncle at the door, and when we opened it, we saw him standing there with my dad and a few of our older male cousins. That's when I knew it was serious. There was no wind, no one playing around. My uncle told us to grab our things that were going to the main house. Then he said there was someone on the property, and that's what made my heart sink. I threw everything into my suitcase, and we all rushed out of the garage. Once inside the main house, most of the family woke up from the noise and commotion. We sat in the living room, trying to piece it all together. I told them about the first two loud crashes, and my cousins confirmed the third. My aunt explained that when my uncle went out to investigate, she followed him. He shouted "hey" at someone standing behind the garage. The door to the main house slammed behind her right then, and there was no wind to explain it. She feared someone might have slipped into the house, so she ran to wake my dad and cousins. After searching, no one else was found inside. Then my uncle described what he saw.
Does nobody believe in backdrafts? Why do these stories always, like, doors are not scary, dude. I understand being like, oh my god, did someone slip in? Let me go make sure. But, like, you can't write that off. You're talking about a moldy old house, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to sit here and pretend as if a door can't have backdraft? Dude, almost literally every single house has backdraft. In fact, I'm pretty sure all of them do. Maybe not like some super engineered, you know what I'm saying? But, like, what are we talking about? Now, as far as the uncle saying he's seen somebody, I'm interested in that. But leave me, stop with the whole, oh, the door shut itself.
A man stood behind the garage, not hiding or moving, but staring like he wanted to be seen. When my uncle called out, the man didn't flinch. He simply walked away and vanished, not into the darkness, but into thin air. The leaves on the ground didn't crunch, and there were no footsteps left behind. My uncle's not someone who makes up stories either. He's a serious, logical man, which made everything scarier. My brothers added that they found 2 jester cards, one in the main house and one in the garage. The one in the garage was twisted and demonic looking.
Jester cards. Clarify for normal people, bro. I don't even know what you're talking about. What? You found 2 jester cards. Also, dude just vanished, apparently.
One cousin pointed out that jesters symbolize mockery, and the loud sounds happened around 3 a.m., the so-called devil's hour. It was as if we were being taunted. My uncle had even checked for footprints, but saw only his and my cousin's.
Man, what in the creepypasta? Alright, let's watch some more. I enjoy those. I do enjoy those. Even though they get stupid, I enjoy those. Let's see, Mr. Nightmare. You gonna earn a subscription today? This one was 9 days ago. Is that the one we just watched? 666k views. Oh my god, you guys seen it? We're cursed. Everyone in the chat's cursed. We're all gonna die. Also, they were showing like Dungeons and Dragons cards or something, so I don't think that's what they were talking about. Oh, here we go. Some disturbing, true Halloween stories. Hedgehog.
This happened 2 years ago on Halloween of 2023. I'm a 25-year-old male, but at the time of this story, I was 22. I had a long day of work due to a festival we had where we had parents bring their kids to the center for various activities, such as many different competitive games, a costume contest, trivia for candy, and a kids vs. parents dodgeball game. Overall, it was a very fun time, but it was definitely tiring. For context, I'm a community worker, so doing community events is pretty much what I do on a normal basis.
Okay.
And it's also draining, if that makes sense. Anyway, after it was all done, I went home and was ready to call it a night. About an hour after I got home, it was around 6 something, my little sister called me. My sister, who I'll call Savannah, wanted me to take her and my nephew, who I'll call Jackson, trick-or-treating because neither our parents nor Jackson's parents felt like doing it. And as it usually goes, it fell on me to be the cool big brother to step in and make it happen. Savannah was 15 and Jackson was 11. Even though I wasn't feeling it at all, I got up, threw some clothes on, and headed to my parents' house to pick them up. Once I got there, I asked if they were ready, but Savannah was still finalizing her costume. She was dressed up as Raven from Teen Titans.
I forgot
She
I
even
had
had
that.
the white makeup on to give that ghostly appearance Raven usually has. Jackson was dressed as Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat.
Okay,
Once
W
Savannah was
costumes.
done, we got in the car and were on our way. I took them to a pretty busy neighborhood to make sure they got as much candy as possible. Upon arrival, we started going from house to house. Everyone we ran into was friendly and had plenty of treats to hand
Look how red I
There was
look.
even one house where an older man gave them each a hot dog and a
Lock in
soda.
camera.
He said every year for Halloween, he doesn't hand out candy. He grills food instead because he'd rather give kids something with protein since it's good for the body. Honestly, we probably need more people like that. We passed a lot of other kids, and some gave compliments to Savannah and Jackson's costumes. I also saw some really cool costumes myself. Everyone in the area seemed to go all out. When we hit the last house for the night, we started walking back to the car. It was about a 10-minute walk since we had gone pretty far down the neighborhood. The neighborhood was less active now, and there weren't as many people out and about. That's why I got alarmed when I looked across the street and saw a person dressed in all black, standing in a yard where there were no porch lights on. I'm surprised I even noticed them at
Halloween.
all, but I tend to always pay attention to my surroundings. When I looked closer, it seemed like the person was wearing a hooded cloak with an all-black outfit and a
On
mask,
Halloween.
as I couldn't see their face at all. I honestly couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. Whoever it was, they appeared to be looking at us.
On Halloween. Let's just fully disclose that. I'm not saying crime doesn't happen. I'm not saying people don't snatch bags, kids, etc. But it is on Halloween. Let's just clarify that. Which makes it slightly less scary.
told Savannah and Jackson to stay close to me and said,
Smart.
"There's a suspicious person across the yard. Look, but don't stare." I said that so they could see who I was talking
they
about
both
without encouraging the
immediately
person
stared.
to approach or follow us. Jackson laughed and thought it was just someone trying to scare people walking by. Savannah, though, looked noticeably worried. Now, just to add some context, I was carrying a backpack with a Glock inside, and Savannah knew this.
Good lord.
So when I told them to stay close, she probably realized I was being serious. Jackson was clueless. He's too young for me to tell him that I carry a real gun. As we were walking away, it looked like that person was still watching us, even
Bro's
though it was
ready
hard
to
to tell in
up
the
it on
dark.
somebody wearing a
We
costume.
were getting closer to the car when I suddenly heard heavy footsteps behind us, like boots hitting the concrete. I turned around and saw that same person again. Same outfit, all black. But this time, I could see more clearly. They were wearing a tactical vest, tactical boots, and black pants tucked into the boots. They had on a full spandex mask that completely covered their face. That made the situation way more serious. When you see someone dressed like that, the first thing that comes to mind is that they're armed. He's following us, I thought. I whispered to Savannah and Jackson, "I need you both to listen very carefully. Do not stop walking and do not look back. The person I mentioned earlier is following us. They're behind us right now. The last thing we want is to alarm them or set them off, so just keep your composure and keep walking." I mainly looked at Jackson when saying this because he's younger and might not fully understand how serious this was. Savannah understood completely. We kept walking and did occasional glances behind us. The person stayed the same distance away, but was still following. When we got to the car, they were still coming our way. That's when I decided to make a bold move. I pulled out my Glock and pointed it at the person. I asked why they're following us. The person raised their hands, as if they didn't expect me to do that, then slowly removed their mask. It was a woman, and she looked to be in her 30s. She took her mask off, but didn't answer my question. She just stared at me blankly. I asked again, still pointing the gun, "Why are you following us?" What she said next made no sense. In an almost robotic tone, she said, "I'm an undercover cop. I was told there was a break-in, so I came to check it out. That's why I was standing outside that house. But when you looked at me funny, I assumed you were the one who did it. So it would be wise to lower that weapon, or I could have you arrested for threatening an officer of the law." I hesitated, but then lowered my gun. What else was I supposed to do? I didn't want to risk an arrest or ruin the kid's night. But
You have a right to protect yourself if you feel threatened. What are we talking? Like, man.
her story didn't make any sense. She claimed she got word of a break-in, so why would she just stand outside?
I'm not
facing
saying you
away
should
from the
just
house?
shoot the person, but tell your people to get in the car, start up the car, and then, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to tell her to back up or something, turn away, don't reach for nothing.
How did me looking at her funny make her think I was the one who did it? Why would I break into a house and then casually
Because you're a
walk through the
kid running
neighborhood?
around with a
And why was she wearing a
block
hooded
in your
cloak?
backpack. That's why.
All these questions were racing through my mind. So I asked her, "If you're undercover, why are you in tactical gear? Wouldn't that kind of give away that you're law enforcement? And what's the point of the cloak?" She didn't answer. She just stared at me again, but this time her expression changed. There was something malicious in her eyes, like she was irritated that I didn't believe her and was deciding what to do next. Jackson and Savannah stayed completely quiet through all of this. Then she smiled this creepy, unsettling smile and said, "If you didn't have that gun, this night would have ended a hell of a lot different for you." Right as she finished saying that, I noticed 4 figures suddenly emerge from between the houses, walking toward us. All of them were wearing tactical gear, but without the cloak. I instantly told Savannah and Jackson to get in the car, keeping my eyes on the woman
You
and the
should have
figures.
did that a long time ago.
Once I saw they were in, I got into and drove off. As I was leaving, the woman was still standing there smiling. The others, 3 men and 1 woman, were not smiling. They had blank, emotionless faces, like they didn't even have souls. It's hard to explain. The whole car ride back was silent. I'm sure the kids were in shock.
Why do people say stuff like that? That's the stuff that makes it like, you got me. Hey, somebody's following you. This is weird. You almost got abducted. Okay, that's scary. That's scary. But they were looking at us like they didn't have souls. Bruh. You don't have to exaggerate. Which is, if you've ever watched true crime documentaries, interrogations with police, things like that, people tend to um they're trying to plead with you essentially. It's like um I'm trying to think how to explain this. If I was lying to you and I wanted you to believe me, I would be like, dude, I swear to God, I swear on my mom's grave, I swear on my mom's not dead, but I swear on my mom's life, I swear on God, I swear to everything I love, blah, blah, blah. I would want you to believe me. So saying those things is a plea to you to believe me. If I'm telling the truth, I don't have to swear, blah, blah, blah. If you're telling the truth, you don't have to add in the detail of they looked at us like they didn't have souls. That's unnecessary, bro. The story's already creepy.
Just like I was. I dropped them off, made sure they got in safely, then went home to process everything that happened. The thing I couldn't shake off was why they targeted us.
Hey,
The
what up?
neighborhood was full of people walking around, so why us? I wish I could say it ended there, but it didn't. A few days later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was just a photo, no words. The picture was of my car, taken in the parking lot of my apartment complex. I contacted the police and told them everything that happened on Halloween night. They took the report, but they couldn't investigate unless a direct threat was made. Typical. Out of curiosity, and
Unless a direct threat was made, you're lucky you had that gun or your night would have ended differently. Is a threat.
maybe
This was fun.
stupidity,
All
I
right,
went back
Nick.
to that same house where
Have
I
a good
first saw
night.
that woman. I knocked on the door, and a man in his 40s answered. I asked if they'd experienced a break-in on Halloween night. He looked confused and said no. He said he went to bed early because he had work the next morning and didn't notice anything strange. I told him what I saw, and he had no idea what I was talking about. I thanked him for his time and left. At that point, I already knew the undercover cop story was fake, but I wanted to do my own little investigation just to make sense of it. Whoever that woman and those people were somehow knew my phone number and where I lived. It makes me wonder, was that not a random encounter after all?
How did they
Were
know your
watching
phone
me for a
number? What did I
while?
miss?
Were they planning something that night, and my being armed threw them off? All those thoughts messed me up and made me feel paranoid for a long time. I had to go to therapy and install a Ring camera at my front door just to feel safe again. In case you're wondering, I haven't been contacted by any unknown numbers since. Nothing else has happened since that picture. 2 years later, I still think back on that night. Writing this out helps me a lot, and I'm trying to fully move on from it. But if there's one thing I want people to take away from this, it's to always watch your surroundings. You never know who might be watching you. It's easy to get caught up in something dangerous just for existing, so always stay safe and protected, because I can say with full confidence that being armed that night probably saved our lives.
Yeah. It happens, unfortunately.
This happened when I was 12 years old. It was Halloween Day, and my family was staying at a small family resort about an hour away from where we lived. My parents wanted to do something different that year instead of just walking around our neighborhood for trick-or-treating. The resort was holding a Halloween celebration that weekend with a bunch of activities, games, and even a haunted hayride. It wasn't a big place. It had maybe 10 cabins, a main lodge, a small lake, and a long open field where they set up hayrides and games. It was surrounded by woods on all sides. During the day, it looked normal, even kind of peaceful, but once it got dark, the woods looked black and creepy.
Yeah,
The
that's
resort felt a little
usually
too
what
quiet.
woods look like.
We checked in early that afternoon. I remember walking into the cabin and feeling excited because I could smell campfire smoke and candy apples in the air. Kids were running
Why do
around
I
in
look so
costumes
purple
even though
now?
it wasn't
Good
dark
Lord.
yet. My parents said the hayride was starting around 7 and there'd be games before that, so I went off to play while they unpacked. They had booths where you could toss rings over bottles for candy, a costume contest, and even a pumpkin carving area. Everything was decorated with orange lights and fake spiderwebs. I met another kid around my age there. His name was Ryan. He was wearing a skeleton costume and said he and his parents were staying in the next cabin over from ours. We played a few games together and got a good amount of candy. As it got closer to 7, we saw a crowd of families walking over to the hayride area. The tractor pulling the wagon was parked near a big barn, and they had hay bales lined up inside for people to sit on. There were maybe 20 of us who got on. The driver wore a scarecrow mask, and there were workers dressed like zombies who would jump out during the ride to scare people.
Okay, so your typical...
The ride started out fun. It was dark by then, and they had torches lighting the dirt trail.
I'm not gonna lie, that looks unsafe.
And there were workers dressed like zombies who would jump out during the ride to scare people.
I'm gonna show you all.
The ride started out fun.
That looks unsafe. I've done haunted hay rides before, and they'll have not a trailer like that, but like the ones that hold logs that have like the big fence things on the side that hold the hay in place, and the entire thing is like covered in hay. You can literally see the guy on the back right of this, where the back pole is literally barely even sitting on hay. All it's going to take is one bump and bro's about to fall off. That is unsafe as can be.
It was dark by then, and they had torches lighting the dirt trail. The tractor moved slowly through the woods, and every now and then, someone in a costume would appear from behind a tree or run up to the wagon. Most people laughed or screamed and then laughed again. It felt like a normal Halloween attraction, but about halfway through, something made me uncomfortable. We were passing through a part of the trail that was darker than the rest. The tractor slowed down, and I looked toward the edge of the woods on my side. That's when I saw a man standing just outside the torchlight. He wasn't part of the hayride cast. I could tell that right away. He wasn't wearing a costume that fit the theme. From what I remember, he had a black jacket, jeans,
that fits the theme,
cap pulled low over his face. He was just standing there, not moving, with his hands in his pockets. At first, I thought maybe he was one of the workers taking a break, but he wasn't doing anything. He was only watching. At one point, I made eye contact with him, or at least I think I did. Even though his face was shadowed, I could feel his eyes locked on me. I turned to look at the people around me to see if anyone else noticed, but no one seemed to. When I looked back, he was still there, in the exact same position. I tried to ignore it for the rest of the ride, but I kept thinking about him. When the hayride ended and everyone got off, I looked back one more time toward the woods. He was gone. I didn't mention it to anyone right then. I figured maybe I imagined it or overreacted. We went back to the lodge where they had more games and food. My parents sat by a bonfire while Ryan and I went around collecting candy. Everything seemed normal again. About an hour later, I saw him again. Ryan and I were standing near the snack table when I noticed someone off to the side of the crowd. It was the same man. He wasn't close, maybe 30 feet away, but he was standing near the tree line, watching again. There were a lot of people around, so it felt strange that he'd just be standing there alone.
Yeah.
I remember my stomach tightening when I realized he was looking in my direction. I tried to get a better look at his face, but it was hard because of the lighting. I could make out a short beard, and I think his hat had some kind of logo on it. I nudged Ryan and told him about the guy. Ryan looked over and said, maybe he's one of the workers. I said, he's not. He was in the woods during the hayride. Ryan shrugged and said, maybe
could be one of the workers.
I wanted to believe that.
Could be a
He
dad.
wasn't talking to anyone, just standing there. A few
He doesn't
minutes
have
later,
to.
when I looked back again, he was gone. Around 9 o'clock, if I had to guess, most of the little kids had gone back to their cabins. The event was winding down, but Ryan and I still had energy. We decided to walk around the resort before going in. There was a trail behind the cabins that led into the woods. Ryan said we should go a little way in to do something scary for Halloween before the night ended. I didn't want to go too far, but we had flashlights, and I didn't want to look like a coward. So we walked down the dirt path together, laughing and daring each other to keep going. The farther we went, the quieter it got. The sounds from the resort faded until it was just the crunching of our shoes on the path. We only went maybe 200 feet in when we stopped near a clearing. There was an old wooden sign nailed to a tree that said private property. We started throwing small rocks at the sign and pretending to summon ghosts or something dumb like that.
And then you scared yourself.
Footsteps. Heavy, slow footsteps coming from behind us, somewhere deeper on the path. We froze.
You
and
guys
turned
are
around.
there. You don't think
Ryan
anyone
whispered,
else can be
"Probably
there?"
Another kid. But it didn't sound like a kid. Whoever it was walked with weight, like an adult.
I know
Shined
some
my flashlight down the
heavy-footed
path.
kids.
The light only went so far, and I couldn't see anyone yet. Then the footsteps stopped. For a few seconds, it was completely silent. Then a voice spoke. It said, "Hey there, boys." It was a man's voice, calm but somehow intimidating. Ryan looked at me, and I think he realized the
Probably
same
wanted to
thing
make sure
I
y'all
did.
didn't run away.
It was the man from the hayride. He stepped into the light just enough for us to see part of him.
Okay, that's creepy.
Same black jacket and hat. "What are you two doing out here?" he asked. "You like
Unless
candy?"
it's like some masked
Neither of us
person
said
trying to
anything.
prevent kids from getting
He pulled
lost.
something out of his pocket and held it up. I could see the orange wrapper. It was a Reese's cup.
Okay.
"I got a bunch more of these in my cabin," he said. "Come on, I'll give you some." Ryan took a step back. I remember his face going pale. The man took a few steps closer and then said, "You don't have to be scared. It's Halloween. I'm just giving candy out. I saw you boys on the hayride earlier." When he said that, my stomach basically dropped. I grabbed Ryan's arm and whispered, "Run." We both turned and sprinted down the path toward the resort. I could hear him behind us for a second. His footsteps were pounding hard as he started to chase. I didn't dare look back. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. The path seemed longer than before. When we reached the edge of the
Yeah,
woods,
your heart
I
would
finally
feel
see
like
the
it was
lights on
about
the
to
resort again.
explode.
I yelled for help as we ran out of the trees and back toward the crowd near the bonfire. A few adults turned toward us, startled. We didn't stop until we got right up to the people. I turned around, expecting to see the man behind us, but he wasn't there. The path was empty. My parents came over right away, asking what happened.
That's
I
crazy.
told them everything about the man watching me on the hayride, seeing him near the trees, and then following us into the woods. Ryan confirmed it all. My dad and another man grabbed flashlights and went to check the path, but they didn't find anyone. A few workers searched too, but he was gone. The resort staff called the local police to report what happened. They arrived about 30 minutes later and took statements from me, Ryan, and our parents. They said they'd check the area and notify nearby cabins to keep an eye out. That night, my parents didn't let me out of their sight. We stayed in the cabin with the door locked. I couldn't fall asleep for hours. Every noise outside made me jump. The next morning, the police came back and told us they searched the property but didn't find anyone matching the description. No vehicles had been reported missing, and no one fitting that man's description had checked in. They thought maybe it was a trespasser from outside the resort. We left later that day. I remember staring out the car window as we drove past the woods, half expecting to see him standing there again. For weeks after that, I kept thinking I saw him, on the side of the road, outside stores.
Yeah, now you're
even
paranoid.
once at my school parking lot, but it was always someone else. Or at least, I hope it was. Ryan and I kept in touch for a while. He told me he couldn't sleep for days after it happened. Nothing ever came of this. The police never called again. The man was never identified or caught. Now I'm older, and when I think about that night, what scares me isn't what he did, it's what he could have done. If we had believed him for even
Yeah.
a second, if we had walked toward him instead of running.
Bro came up with the Reese's cup. Like, I got more of these back at my cabin if you want to, like, good Lord, bro. The oldest trick in the book. He could have been like, hey, your parents were looking for you. They told me to come, get you guys. I work for the park, blah, blah, blah. Take his hood off and stuff. Like, I'm out here making sure kids don't get away. Like, something, bro. Not like, you want some candy? Like, that's
I don't think
crazy.
I'd be here to tell this story. And every Halloween since then, whenever I see someone standing alone at the edge of a crowd, I always think of that man. Sometimes people who look like they're part of the fun are watching for a different reason.
That's a bar. That was a bar. Oh my god. Man, that
My
was
name
a
is-
bar. Sometimes you don't even have to say, You can literally just leave it. Sometimes people are watching for a different reason. But the way he worded it, man, that was crazy. That's
Roger,
really deep.
And this happened to me on Halloween night 3 years ago. I'm 29 and work a boring office job, but it's good pay. When this happened, I was getting stuck with the stuff. Beginner's time off, the shifts nobody wanted, etc. So when Halloween, my favorite holiday, rolled around, I was actually quite excited. It was never easy being the new guy at work, so I was wanting to enjoy a night of seeing kids be kids and chilling out at home watching movies. At the time, I was living alone in a small house on the outskirts of town with my girlfriend, but she was out of town with her parents. It wasn't isolated exactly. I had neighbors, but the street got really quiet once the trick-or-treating hours ended. The families in the area usually shut their lights off around 9 p.m. Since I didn't have kids, I just handed out candy until the crowd died down.
For now.
On several
We've
past
made it
Halloweens,
17 days.
before I got my own place, I was quite used to the occasional ding-dong ditch prank. That's why there is a trick and treat here and there. That year, Halloween fell on a Saturday, and I remember it was chilly but clear out. By 10:30, I was lounging on my couch, half watching a horror movie while picking through a bowl of leftover candy. I hadn't seen anyone in about an hour, so when I heard a faint knock at my side door, I assumed it was stragglers. But when I opened the door, no one was there. Just the empty driveway and the faint rustling of leaves. I brushed it off. Kids play pranks all the time on Halloween. I headed back to my living room to finish watching The Conjuring 2. 15 minutes later, I heard the same sound again, only this time it was coming from the back door, the one that led to the small deck.
No.
That set off alarms in my head because nobody used that entrance. I froze in the living room, listening. The TV was off now, and I could hear it clearly. The metal rattle of the back doorknob being tested, slowly and cautiously. Whoever was trying my door was either checking if it was locked cautiously or believed it was unlocked and trying to be quiet. I crept into the kitchen,
They're
staying
probably
low,
just checking
and that's
it.
when I saw him through the window. A man was crouched down near the door, wearing dark clothes and a cheap, cracked Halloween mask pushed up on top of his head.
That's
In his
creepy,
hand, He
man.
held a crowbar. He wasn't trying to hide. He was deliberate and calm, like he knew I was inside and didn't care. I backed away quietly and grabbed my phone, whispering to 911 what was happening. The operator told me to stay on the line, lock myself somewhere safe, and not to engage. I didn't want to make noise by slamming the doors upstairs, so I stayed crouched at the top of the steps, clutching a kitchen knife, whispering updates. I peeked down and saw the man move away from the back door. That's when I heard the faint pop of a window screen being pried off. He was at the basement window now. I whispered to the dispatcher, "He's at the basement." My voice was shaking. She told me officers were already on their way. Then came the worst moment. I heard glass crack. He was breaking the window. My blood ran cold, and it wasn't just a smash and grab. He knew I was there, and most burglars typically don't try to enter a home where they know someone's still inside. Minutes felt like
Especially
hours.
not
The dispatcher kept me
when
talking
you know they
quietly
could
to make sure I was
call.
still okay.
That seems
I heard
crazy.
footsteps crunching outside. The man was circling the house again. Then, headlights swept across the blinds. Relief flooded me as flashing red and blue lights pulled up in front. The man bolted. I watched him sprint across my yard, but he didn't get far. The officers tackled him just past my driveway.
Nice.
I didn't even realize I was shaking until I saw one of the cops leading him back in cuffs. That's when I saw what he'd been carrying. The crowbar, duct tape, and zip ties stuffed in his bag.
Oh, he was
This
coming.
wasn't a burglar looking for
Yeah.
valuables.
He wanted
This
you.
guy had a plan, and it was something far worse.
Yes,
The
sir.
police told me he had a long record of breaking into homes, and that he was suspected in some other cases where people had gone missing.
Bro got way too
To this
confident.
day, I hate being home alone on Halloween. It's supposed to be about scares and fun, but whenever I hear footsteps or knocking outside at night, I can't help but remember everything about this night.
I'm not gonna lie, I get triggered sometimes when people knock on my door. Like I don't invite people to my house or anything. Like I don't have any like reason for people to be knocking at my door. Anytime I get a random knock at the door, my anxiety triggers a little bit. Like I'll go answer it and everything, but there's a little part of me that's like, who is this? You know what I mean? But all right, chat. We played some Dying Light. We did some reactions. And it is getting a little late. But how am I supposed to sleep now? There's this beautiful thing. Let me tell you about it. It's called YouTube. What it is it's an app where people essentially upload uh, their content, their videos, things they're doing, and they share them with people. So that way, anytime that they're not currently live or in person with you, you can still interact with them on a personal level. I got tons of videos over there, tons of scary stuff. You know what I mean? We got a lot of videos over there, probably nearing 1,000 at this point. So, I mean, you guys can always check that stuff out. Also, here's another beautiful thing. You can go to Twitch and you can watch the VOD back. Nah, but in all seriousness, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna be live again tomorrow. What are we? Is tomorrow Saturday? Yeah, okay. Well, technically today is Saturday. Um, it just depends, Shubes. Because I got Kira on board, and then if you show up, then it's gonna be me, you, Kira, and Mooney playing Phasmophobia. And if you can't make it, my girl's gonna fill in. I don't know. Um, Kara hasn't responded to me. I messaged her and told her she usually starts her stream at about, I want to say, I don't know. I honestly don't know, but I told her 10 my time, which would be 7 your time. I know that's early. Yeah, I figured as much. Is it you usually pretty like busy, so I wasn't trying to like, yo, you gotta be here at a but um but if you don't make it, it's no big deal. My girl will fill in. I just wanted to play something online. Plus Kira hasn't really played Phasmophobia. I've played an ungodly amount of that. But if we don't get to play Shubes, we could still do an Outlast Trials. We do an anniversary, you know what I'm saying? It's been a minute. We'll do a Outlast Trials anniversary, play some of the new stuff, you know what I'm saying? Um, I would like to get I'm trying to think. Oh boy, Outlast Trials. I've been playing Silent Hill F. The games I gotta complete are Silent Hill F, Amnesia the Bunker, which I came back to. That game is terrifying. And then I'm not gonna finish Dying Light on the channel. I just kind of wanted to get into it. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me actually, you know what? I got a note. I got a note. Let me see. We got oh, I played Labyrinthine with my girlfriend. We played that. I think it was yesterday. That game was pretty fun. Um, that's one that we definitely got to play some more. Um, I don't know. I was really hoping to get into some friend slop scary games, but it seems like I don't know why these devs aren't dropping like someone needs to drop something like Repo, Lethal Company, all of those games. Like, what are we doing, devs? It's tis the season to be squeezing the money out of people's pockets with some scary friend slop, man. What are we doing? But either way, I'll be live again tomorrow and every day for the rest of this month. And then if you guys are following, I won't be live for probably a week or two after that, but I'm going to be flooding, and I mean flooding, YouTube Shorts, YouTube, and TikTok with clips. So, fair warning. Um, yeah. But thank you guys for coming to Red's World. Stay tuned for more to come soon, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.